of team. So just what I said is we're going to have a nice webinar, a nice presentation from Sandy Steel and from Herpai Laszlo about the work of the referee coach, the difference and the changes between being a referee delegate and a referee coach, and the new work that the FIVB has implemented since the last year or so. So please, Sandy, thank you very much.
Okay. Well, thank you again. I don't know about Laszlo, but
Sandy, just a second, please. Everybody, put yourself on the mute and open it only when you want to speak. Thank you.
All right. So anyway, it's always a privilege. I always regard it as a privilege to be invited to speak, and I'm sure that Laszlo echoes that particular sentiment, and I'm privileged that Laszlo has agreed to join this evening, and I will be leaning very heavily on Laszlo for his particular insights, his experience, and so on. Vastly experienced, and I really respect a lot of the things that he's going to tell you tonight for sure. Let me say, first of all, before I go any further, that this is simply one way. It's simply one way of coaching referees. There are many other ways. Okay, this particular way is the way that seems to fit quite well with the philosophy of FIVB at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to ask Laszlo to say a few words. Then, if you can come back to me, then we'll progress. And I will continually ask Laszlo's opinion throughout the presentation, if that's okay. We'll probably operate for about 80 minutes, and that would leave time for maybe 10 minutes of questions at the end, if you wish to ask questions. So, Laszlo, can I ask you to come in on this? Yeah, you're muted. Sorry, Laszlo, you're muted. Okay.
Yes, what is your request for me?
Simply to say a few words about what we're going to do this evening and so
on. You sent us to Roy and me a very nice presentation about the refereeing coaching for modern volleyball, and I suppose we can make a very nice distinguish between the former refereeing delegate and the actual refereeing coaching. If I can remind you that in the past, in the previous system, I'm 100% sure that you remember the name of Dr. Herpai.
Mm-hmm.
He was our teacher. He was our grandfather. And in his time, 20, 30 years ago, his style was that during the evaluation after the match or any time of the refereeing meeting, he started the evaluation of the refereeing performance. It was, gentlemen, it was a very good performance, but, and after that half an hour, he listed the mistakes, the errors of the referees, and everybody was crazy about it. And one time, I have a very good story. One time, a very well accepted referee, very high-level referee, he requested Dr. Herpai, Doctor, we appreciate your remarks, but you list always our mistakes. May I ask you if we did any positive things, any good things? And Doctor replied, yes, you did, but we don't have time to talk about it. So his style, in this time, the refereeing delegates were mistakes, fault hunting persons. Comparing to this, today we should be positive. We should have positive attitude to help the referees. And about this aspect, about this approach, Sandy will talk a lot, I'm sure. So I don't want to say anything else.
That sounds like a threat, Laszlo. Sandy will talk a lot. For sure, I will talk a lot, you know, and it's one of the things that you have to do is to shut me up from time to time. Okay, let's have a look at this. As Laszlo said, we're looking at referee coaching rather than referee mentoring or working as a referee delegate. So this presentation is looking at solutions. It's looking, as Laszlo said, at positive things, but not only positive things, it's looking at solutions to things that could have been done better. So in that sense, you could call it a solutions-based approach, okay? And it covers, the way I've written it, single matches, but also tournament strategies as well. Because with the best will in the world, we don't all operate in the FIVB World Championships. We operate in one single match here, a tournament here, one day, and so on. So we're all different. So the conditions that the referee coach has may differ from country to country, tournament to tournament, match to match. So hopefully we're trying to cover as many bases as possible so that it's mostly useful from a coaching point of view. But as I said, and as Laszlo said, the underlying thread is that we are trying to be as positive as possible to encourage the referee to perform better. And really, that's the difference. We've got mentoring, which gives a solution. Mentors usually give an answer to a referee who has a particular issue. The delegate usually analyzes and evaluates, whereas the coach forces the person, the referee, officially it's called the coachee, which sounds a very strange word, but nevertheless is a genuine word. It forces the person being coached to find the answers himself or herself in order to improve performance. And it's really, as a coach, you should be asking serious questions. It's a questioning process, not a directing process. It's more getting the referee to find the answers that fits the referee to solve the problem or to make a better performance next time. Okay, often it's done on a one-to-one, best done one-to-one, or in a small group. But as I said, it's called a solutions-based approach because that's what we're looking for. And FIVB has over the last, well, let's say since just prior to the Rio Olympics, it came up with the idea of what's called smooth refereeing. Now, smooth refereeing came about because we incorporated technology and we tended to be a slave to the technology rather than us being in charge of the technology. And so in order to actually rationalize that, to make sure that we were doing the right thing and the sensible thing, we created this the term called smooth refereeing. And it's worthwhile taking a little time just to think about what is that. So that's the key point. That if FIVB wants us to do smooth refereeing, we need to understand what refereeing is, smooth refereeing is, okay? And that's something that we as coaches need to understand. Now I'm going to go back to Laszlo. Now Laszlo's just finished the big World Championships. Laszlo, how would you describe smooth refereeing from the point of view of the referees that you observed in that competition? You're muted again, sorry.
I always emphasize to the referees that the referees has to serve volleyball, have to serve the teams, and not to hunt the errors of the players. We have frames made by the rules, and between these frames, the players and the referees has a kind of freedom to serve, to help the teams to play, to show the best performance. So in my opinion, this is also the key point of the smooth refereeing: serve the volleyball.
Okay, so let's take what Laszlo had just said and expand on that just a little bit. As coaches, as I said, we need to understand that volleyball is a show. It's an entertainment. It's no longer something that is played in a small school gymnasium with no spectators. You know, it is a big worldwide multi-million-dollar industry, and we need to understand that, and we need to promote our game at whatever level we are to make sure it's going in the same direction as the top level game. Now, it could well be that we can't do that. I mean, Laszlo, I know, has many times expressed a desire to have two separate sets of rules, one for us common mortals and one for the top stars and playing in the world championships and so on, and Olympic Games. But nevertheless, we aspire to the same kind of philosophy. So it's a philosophical thing that we're trying to get the game to a bigger, wider audience, and do what Ari Grassa actually wants, is to create something which is the biggest family entertainment sport in the world. And if we keep that in the back of our mind, then that gives us an idea of how we should be advising the referees when they are performing. As Laszlo said, we're no longer doing the critique point by point by point, fault by fault by fault, mistake, mistake, mistake. We're trying to encourage the referee to do better next time. Laszlo has explained in his story. I have another story, and that was a referee who had so many things wrong that he thought, I'll never referee again. And so it was explained to him, you know, that you don't have to worry about all the things, all the key points that we're trying to tell you. Just referee your normal game and enjoy the 5 seconds that the rally takes. Be entertained. If you enjoy it, the players will enjoy it. And so it was. And so the next time he was much, much better, because he didn't worry about being criticized all the time. He actually thought, okay, I'll make mistakes, but it's not something I need to worry about. Okay, so as I said, what is smooth refereeing? Okay, as Laszlo said, match is a good flow, no unnecessary delays, good tempo between serves and sets. The outcome, the match moves along nice and smoothly. We have served the game. Referees are engaged, decisions are timely. The referee's movement is fluid and controlled. The transitions are actually pretty smooth. Okay, it's not awkward, no funny arm movements or jumping around. Okay, the referees look comfortable. The referees need to be comfortable in their movements and in their decision making. Okay, when they look uncomfortable, that's when they look nervous, that's when they make mistakes, or that's when we see that they are going to make mistakes. Okay, more, they manage the match well. The decisions are efficient, controlled. Any isolated situations are managed with confidence. Now, these are the sort of things that happen at the top level. We got rid of the paddles at the top level. Okay, and the reason for that was that we introduced the technology. The technology allowed the coaches to transmit the information about the substitutions. So you got substitutions being transmitted, but the people who arrived were not the same people that had been transmitted because the assistant coach got it wrong. And what did we do? We simply managed what was there, and we didn't penalize the team. We didn't create a big problem that the spectators couldn't understand. That was smooth refereeing. We managed a situation, we managed the game, and we moved on. And 12,000 spectators had no idea there was a problem. No idea. They simply enjoyed the action. Okay, simply enjoyed the action, and that was critical. Okay, so there are limited situations where the match is delayed because we are smooth refereeing. Okay, interaction between players and coaches and referees is human. It's not us and them, it's we're all in it together. Okay, there is competitive emotion, but it's not aggressive emotion. You know, the referee's not angry at the players are not angry at the referee. You know, the referee has applied the rules, as Laszlo said. It's a framework. It's a framework on which we hang our decisions. That's what the rules are. Okay, they're not the the sort of black and white. There are shades of gray in there, deliberately shades of gray, so that the referee can apply a little bit of common sense. And that's what we're hoping the referees will do. That's smooth refereeing. And that generates a sense of trust between the players, coaches, and referees. Okay, so that's critical. So that's my interpretation. I think it's Laszlo's interpretation too. Laszlo, do you want to add anything to that?
To your last sentence, outcome, a sense of trust between the players, trust and respect.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree.
So if the referee respects the players and the teams, he or she gets the same level of respect, which is also very important to the referee.
Yeah. Okay. Agree. Okay. So decision making is good. Decisions are based on a thorough understanding of the rules, but again applied with common sense. Okay. So move on. Here we've got a series of situations. I'm going to bring Laszlo into this as well. I'm asking you to look at the second referees in all of these situations. Most of them are refereeing pretty well. Okay, there's a couple of occasions when maybe they didn't do it quite the way I would have liked it, or maybe Laszlo would have liked it, or you would have liked it. But anyway, let's see. Maybe Laszlo at the end of this sequence, you can give us a feeling for how well they have done or how well they have not done. Okay.
Did you did
level as well. Good passing, sending straight down the line, position on high. Great recovery work as well. Holding in again. Drews is so tight, the block's really in the game. Barge Hackley just to the outside. Robinson and Smott. Set to the outside. Seven low setting, bit of fumbling, looking maybe for a double touch. Calmness from the libero. Drews with the cannon. Handed off the line. Pietrini. Given the type of attack, didn't seem quite ready for that. Slow down block though, gives Italy another chance. This time they go quiet from getting right, but serve. Robinson steps in. Side on that attack. But US had actually set the combination, and Russell would have come in on a second tempo. That would have been out of this world. It's unfortunately not what Russell wanted, the net getting in the way. One carry corner. The play continues. Set from Fernando. That's a massive sweep for Luke.
It makes the middle blockers on the other side respect what's going on, as well as maybe a little late to what's happening on the pin. See if they're again trying to open it up through the thick.
Covering by Shoji.
Okay, over to Laszlo. whole series of sequences of action there. Some interesting, some not so interesting. But anyway, Laszlo, anything about that was smooth? Anything that was not so smooth? Because I saw you laughing at one point.
When the coach played the ball, if I remember well, the first or the second video. I think these referees were on top, and as you mentioned, we could trust in their performance. We could believe their performance, especially the last second referee, Uri. His movement was almost perfect. He's one of the best referee in the world, actually. And his second refereeing can be a good for copying.
Yeah. No, I agree. And furthermore, although we were looking at the second referee, there was a couple of occasions there when I heard the commentator raising a question or two about ball touch. But in reality, what the referees did there was they understood the show. And to me, that was important. They understood the show. We sit back and we enjoy the rally. The rally was fantastic in each of those cases. And that's what people pay money to see. So although there might have been some small imperfections, the referees completely understood. It wasn't that they didn't see some small imperfections. It was that they chose not to whistle it. And that's critical, that not whistling is also a decision. Laszlo?
They didn't want to disturb the show, although maybe some mistakes were done. Okay, but the show must go on.
Yep.
There was not a real big error, and I fear that some experienced referee coaches not completely understand this, and may tell the referees they want to apply the rules 200%. And if in the rules it's written that the double should be called, yes, it's okay, but. So we have to understand and to apply this new spirit.
Yeah.
And some referees and some referee coaches can be confused.
Yeah. I hope that wasn't a Dr. Holvey, but anyway, I agree totally with that. You know, it is crucial that we as coaches understand and we interpret that. I mean, I do have the feeling sometimes that referees whistle these things to try and attract the coach's attention to how clever they are. And they must not do that. That's not good. I mean, I always say to referees at clinics before big competitions, don't try and impress me. It's not me you're trying to impress. Impress the 12,000 people in the stadium. Impress the 18 players or whatever it is that are running around on the court. You know, those are the people that you need to impress, not me. So don't look for me to say you did really well because you whistled that double. You know, and I'm sure Laszlo, you do the same. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. Right. So, comparing what we have there, what I saw there from the second referees, the default position, that's the starting position for reception, was pretty good in most cases. Not too far from the post, not too close to the post. I do find sometimes that second referees are drifting too far away from the post, which kind of limits them a little bit, but that's a personal preference. They were good awareness of where the ball was in relation to where they should be. They were showing good awareness of the ball trajectory and player trajectory too, and therefore they were able to respond to that. You saw them moving. They were active, but not attracting attention active. They were active because they had to be. You know, there's some times when there's a lot of arm waving and so on, and I've seen that at some national level referees. They get a bit unbalanced, or they're trying to attract attention to the coaches, or I don't know what they're trying to do. But anyway, instead of focusing on the play, they're actually waving their arms around a lot. A lot of them were doing good transitions in that they were walking. They weren't taking big side steps, which I really don't like that. That looks very awkward. So they were walking in a very natural way, no exaggerated leaning, good optical position to judge, and so on. But there was a feeling that there was a good communication between the second referee and the first. And likewise, looking at the first referee, as I said, good optical positions, good judgment on ball touch, understanding the show, and it was an appropriate style that I saw without being a robot. Now, Laszlo, can I come back to you? In the past, you and I probably refereed at the time when we were expected to be the same. We were robots. We stood straight and we simply did this thing with the arms. Are we still expected to do that, or can we relax a little bit? Laszlo?
Sorry, I was confused.
Are we expected to be robots now, or can we relax a little bit?
In the rally, do you mean?
Yeah, in terms of the style of our refereeing, in terms of the style of our movements as a first referee, for example, or as a second referee.
We should be human being.
Okay, good.
We should be human being.
Right. So that's something again that can be carried over by the coach when the coach is having a debriefing session with the referees afterwards. Okay. All right. So moving on, let's look at this one. Now, this referee is actually a good referee. Okay, and I know this referee. However, there's something that happens that is not smooth, and you'll see what I mean. Okay. Okay, so right, you can see why that is not smooth. It's something that can be avoided, and it involves anticipation. It involves moving the correct way because of that anticipation. And if she had moved the correct way to follow or to be in line with the trajectory of the ball, then the collision probably wouldn't have happened. But okay, that's one of these things. We try and avoid these kind of things. But it is to do with movement. The referees need to be aware of things outside their area of competence. That second referee was looking at the net and center line, but they need to expand to look at where's the ball going? Oh, it's going over or near the antenna. It's going inside the antenna. Therefore, I can step that side, and I'm watching it all the way. If she stepped the other way, unfortunately, and the player thought that they could chase it, and you saw the result. Anyway, moving on. So, question for us: who are we coaching? Now, you're coaching beginner referees, aspiring new generations of top-level referees. It can take many, many years to reach the level where a referee can be nominated to the hardest games. The question is, can we shorten that time? Can we shorten that? Can we teach somebody about stepping the right way at the right time so that we don't get that collision? Can we teach somebody about which ball handling things to make a decision not to whistle? Okay, can we make a decision about, or can we teach how to do a substitution in a particular way that means the communication between the second referee and the scorer is perfect, and so on. So it involves us as coaches asking the correct questions of the referee, like how would you make eye contact with the scorer? When should you make eye contact with the scorer? What information should you give to the scorer beforehand so that communication could be better? So you're asking a question that makes the referee think. Okay, and once they think, then they can work it out. What should it be? Okay. Why are we coaching? Well, like every other sport, we can employ coaching to improve performance of referees, to change the decision-making process of referees. Okay, we've talked a lot about ball touch. Okay, development of the competencies of referees, make them better at doing what they should be doing. Okay, players train to a high level. We need to train our coaches to a high level too. Okay, and sometimes, certainly, it is being done at the moment. For example, the referees who went to the under-18 World Championships in Mexico, they were shown how to do physical training. They actually had a presentation from a sort of sports coach, etc., on physical training, how to be physically fit, and that works into the work-life balance as well. Okay, but in addition to that, if you're good, you enjoy. And that means you bring enjoyment to the sport as a whole. Because if you enjoy it, players enjoy it, spectators enjoy it, and so on. That's the plan. Okay. So what do coaches do? Well, Laszlo, back to you. As you are a coach, what sort of things do you do? What sort of things do you do when you're coaching referees?
Generally, I don't give a receipt to the referees what to do and how to do, but I try to give them advices how to improve. So my philosophy is that I can help them, but I cannot ensure that they go up.
Okay, so let's.
This is a philosophy, and you can list what to do and how to do.
Well, let's see if any of that appears here, because I'm sure it does. First of all, you're right. We certainly don't lecture the referees. That's not our job as coaches. Okay, we don't stand there and wag our finger. You should have done this. That's not good coaching. Okay, because it's very easy to criticize. Okay, we can sit there and we can list all the mistakes. Okay, but we need to understand that by doing so, we actually may make the referee's job worse, may make the performance worse next time, because you make them so nervous, you know, they get confused, and the next time they go up, they're perspiring and they're not ready, and they're anxious, and because they're anxious, they don't make good decisions because they're not sure if you're going to shout at them after the match and so on. So we don't want to create stresses. Okay. We've lost a lot of referees to the game. I know for a fact, I'll be honest. I remember criticizing one referee, well, probably more than one referee, and I thought I was doing it in such a nice way. How wrong it could be, because after that, the referee never refereed again. They left the sport completely, because I thought I was doing a good job, but clearly I was not. So you learn by your mistakes. So that was me. Bad, Sandy. I won't do that again. Okay, Laszlo?
In the bracket, you can destroy the referees also with the nomination.
Yeah, yeah.
If not enough level of the referee to be nominated on the strong match.
Yeah.
But bracket is closed.
Yeah.
It's not the referee coach's question.
No, indeed not. Okay, anyway, moving on. So what do? Laszlo said, we teach, we observe, we evaluate. We do all of those things. Now, the referee delegates do some of that too. They do the evaluation and the observing, you know. The mentors teach and they observe as well. So really what the referee coach does is combine all of those aspects together in one big package. So we teach, we observe, we evaluate, okay? So let's think of us as teachers. Okay, that was just me showing off that I could spin that thing. All right, so qualities of us. We're not lecturers, we're coaches. So first of all, we need to listen. We need to listen to the referees after the match. Okay, because there may be something that happened that we had no idea happened. We are not in a position really to hear what is said between the game captain and the referee. So we need to listen to what actually did happen there. You know, or, you know, something happened at the net and I wasn't entirely sure what happened. Can you explain it a little? Oh yeah, fine. So you listen to what they said, and you listen with a sympathetic or an empathetic ear. You're not judging them. You're able to understand the problem from their viewpoint, not just your own viewpoint as a rules expert or as a referee expert, but you're supportive. You know? And you're able to frame the problem in a nice, simple way. So if the referee is unable to track the setter, for example, you know, or track the backliner hits, you know, you can actually ask them or tell them, well, as I understand it, this is your problem. You know, am I right in thinking this? And so you begin to explore a particular aspect of their performance from a micro level. You're micro teaching. Okay, so we set the tone. Okay, we need to have a place to talk to the referees that we don't have disturbances. We're not going to do this where everybody can hear. We're not going to do this where everybody can watch. We try and keep this private, no disturbances. Okay, and we listen to what they're saying. You know, there's no distractions. You're not listening to your phone at the same time, or texting somebody about, okay, let's have dinner tonight somewhere else. You know, you're listening attentively. You have been observing everything. You've actually taken notes during the match. Okay, and you've analyzed those things. So you think you know what actually happened. But okay, let's double check it. In an ideal world, that would be some quality time. Okay, and you'll be able to show videos. I remember Laszlo and I, World Championships in Macau, as I remember, we spent probably that was the longest referee discussion that we ever had, Laszlo. And I do remember we had a fantastic time showing videos to the referees of how they had performed. Do you remember that, Laszlo?
I remember, but in that time we had daily meetings every day.
That's right. That's right.
Today we don't.
That's right.
Unfortunately.
Now, we don't have the luxury of doing those things anymore. I mean, we also did the same thing in the World Championships, as I remember. And I was in Poland, you were in Italy, so that was what we did then. And we had conversations about what we saw. You know, we actually took the videos and we showed the videos that, well, what happened there? Yeah, and the referee could actually explain a little bit more about what happened. So that was nice. But in reality, we don't do that. Certainly in my country, if you manage to get into the changing room for 10 minutes maximum, you know, you're all crowded together and you're actually discussing what happened during the match. That's a luxury. And most of us actually don't have the chance to sit in a nice room, you know, air-conditioned room and lots of space, and we can actually sit and chat and so on. So that's my experience anyway, and that was certainly the case in a whole variety of world championships that I was involved in. You know, you went to the changing room, you sat down, you discussed for 10 minutes or so, and that was as much as you could get. I don't know. Laszlo, were you able to do more than that when you were in the world championships recently?
We had the briefing after the match in the dressing room, but because it was under 21, so the referees were not on top. I decided to make every 2 days daily meetings to analyze the last 2 days' performances with videos, with such conversations, and the referees enjoyed very well. So although it's not obligatory to make daily meetings, I did in every 2 days.
I think that's very good. I remember Zorica saying that in her national federation, she actually live streams some matches, you know, to a group of referees, like we're doing at the present time by Zoom, and basically gets them all to evaluate or to look at the performance and to make comments about and so on. So the fact that we see the same thing at the same time is really important. And the fact that I showed those 2 sequences of videos meant that we all understood what we were trying to say, that we all saw the same thing at the same time. So video is very important. If you can show videos, then great, you know, fantastic. Anyway.
But it takes a long time, and you should have a big effort to create videos or to collect the videos. So don't forget.
Yeah,
it's not easy.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, let's assume that you're in this small changing room after the match. You can ask the referees, including the reserve referee, or if you've got a challenge referee, fantastic, which most of us don't have, about the match. Now, there's a little tip here that I would suggest. Focus, first of all, on good things. You know, as Laszlo said, Dr. Holvey focused on bad things. My focus is on good things, because I think if from a teaching point of view, people respond better if at least they hear some good things about themselves. You know, it makes them feel good and makes them more receptive to the bad things that are going to come up later on. Or let's not call them bad things. Let's just call them things that we could be developing a little differently. Okay. So, yeah, Laszlo.
Yes, it was very interesting. During the last World Championship, I asked the referees, as you mentioned, to make a short self-evaluation. And most of them, they started the evaluation. I missed this ball handling fault. It was out instead of in, blah, blah, blah. So they started to list their mistakes.
Yep.
And I stopped them. Hey, boys, you did not any positive things. You did only mistakes. So I changed again. I returned. I remembered Dr. Holvey's stories. So I tried to emphasize them that, hey, boys, you did well. This is the general impression. And you can list some mistakes. So I try to suggest them also to start with the positive things. Do you understand?
Mhm. I
So
agree.
try to implement in their self-evaluation to start with the positive things, with the good things. If the collaboration was good or not, blah, blah, blah.
I mean, yeah, you could actually stand there and look at every ball touch, every movement of the players, every service action, every substitution. All these things are decisions that have been done in the match. And if at the end of the day you have some doubts about maybe 4 things, or the referee has doubts about 4 things, the percentage success is huge. It's more than 99%. You know, it's so let's not beat ourselves up by saying you did really badly. You did 99% successful. So why criticize me for that? Okay, so anyway, let's move on. Right, so another tip: encourage the referees to talk and listen to what they're saying. As I said, often we're not in the best position to see or hear everything that occurred, but ask for a description. You know, make sure that you're not just saying, you know, as the referees do, we had good cooperation with my second referee. Every single one, that should be a given. That should be an absolute given. And the referees laugh at me when I say, don't tell me that you had good cooperation, you know, and so, oh, he's doing this again. No, so that's, some things should be automatic. You know, and that's one of those things that should be automatic. That there should be good cooperation between the 2 referees. But ask them for a description of certain events. You know, tell me a little bit more about that. You know, I wasn't sure what happened there. Can you explain a little bit about that? Describe this incident and so on. So get them to describe the incident as they saw it. And you may be surprised actually that you got it completely wrong. I often find I got it completely wrong. Okay, so part 2. Okay, now that you've actually got them to talk to you and you've listened, you know, now you can come in with some additional questions, and it's the questions that are the important bits. Okay, they've explained something, they've described something. Now get them to think about, how could you have done that better? You know, okay, we had a situation where the first referee whistled for service at precisely the same moment that the horn went for substitution. Sorry, for timeout, and the players all went to the side, and this team over here served into the empty court, and you think, oh no, okay, that's what the rule says. The service takes precedence, but in reality, are you going to let that happen in front of you know, if this was the Olympic final, would you do it like that, or would you think carefully about maybe not doing it precisely that way? So you might want to ask them how they would do something better, you know, and if they don't come up with an answer right away, you can ask them a little bit more. You know, you said, oh, this happened, and so on. Think about that. How would you introduce that particular thing? How would you talk to the coaches at that particular time? You were face to face, you were nose to nose with the coaches, very aggressively. You know, how would you do that in a little bit softer way, and so on? So there's a lot that can be done at that particular point. Okay, so Laszlo, when you're picking them up after they've done their list of good points and bad points, what do you say to them after that?
Let me give an example. On a match in Sardinia, there was one doubt situation, and next day I tried to arrange so that the video from this doubt situation was catch. Okay, I cut, and I had a positive situation in video about a good procedure in the same kind of situation, a similar situation. I started with the good procedure, correct procedure, and I asked them if you agree with this or not. Everybody was agreed that this is the good way. Okay, and then I showed them what happened on the match, which was not correct way. And after that, I asked them to analyze what is your opinion about your personal performance, personal procedure. And they start to smile. Okay, you're right. We understand what you are meaning.
I think that's an excellent way of doing it, Laszlo. The fact that you're actually comparing the two things, so it's not verbal anymore, it's visual, and people respond really well to visual.
And I started with the agreement. We agreed how to do.
Yes.
And after that, to show what is the difference. Oh, we understand. So
yeah.
No, they were convinced.
Okay. That's an important takeaway from now. Agree on the proper way, and then compare it with what actually happened, and how do you get from that point to that point. I think that's critical.
But it's impossible to make it on the briefing in the dressing room after the match. True. I agree.
True. Yeah. Okay. Another tip to avoid. I've had this. I'm sure some of you have had this as well. The referees, something happened in the match and the referees blamed each other for it, and they begin to almost come into the changing room, and you could feel the icicles forming from the ceiling. They're really angry with each other. One referee's angry at the other one. Occasionally you may have to step in and say, hey guys, okay, one at a time. Okay, we're going to do this properly. Coach talks, you listen, and we'll start again. Okay, so tell me your version. You tell me your version, but don't let them argue. It's like the two captains at the referee's chair arguing with each other, and the referees kept out of it. So you control that discussion. Don't let them take control of the discussion. It's still under your control. You give them the floor for sure, but when it goes too far, so one starts to criticize the other, rein it in, pull it back in, and get back to civilized discussion. I don't know if you've had that situation, Laszlo.
No.
Okay.
This should be a conversation and not a fighting.
Yes. Okay. Anyway, all right. Let's have a look at this particular one here. Right. Okay.
Here's a chance, Perry, the provider, locked out of it. Jackson, I'm sorry.
Now, and in fact, looking at that, nobody complained, but what's your opinion, Laszlo?
I think it was a big reaching over the net.
Yeah. Yes.
So if this fault was called, the next the big net touch would not happen, because it would be after the whistle of the rally. So
yeah, that's right. So in fact, there is a balance to be struck between allowing the show, as we discussed before, but when it's a very blatant situation like reaching beyond the net, as we saw there, then you really have to call it. What I noticed recently was a lot of referees were calling reaching beyond the net by the blockers, when in fact it was actually reaching beyond the net by the setter. Referees aren't getting that quite right all the time. Maybe 50% of the calls that they're making that I saw recently were not correct. And I don't know if that's true across the board, across volleyball, but certainly in that competition I was looking at, that was what I noticed. And that was a little bit disturbing that was the situation. So, and again, that may be down to referees not focusing on the right place at the right time. Again, goes back to anticipation. Anticipate the action, then you look at the right place, then you go into your memory vault and you pull out the appropriate rule, and you make a decision based upon that. Okay, so part 3, I like to give written comments. I know there's some discussion about whether or not that happened. Certainly at Olympic Games level, the R4s were not being given to the referees. Doesn't matter to me whether it's an R4 or not, but certainly I have been giving written comments through all the VNL, and I gave written comments to all the referees that I observed in Mexico. And I think that's important, especially for younger referees, for aspiring referees, so they've got something to look at and think, oh, that's what I did wrong. Laszlo, anything from you?
Practically, I agree. The system that there is no R4 given to the top referees. But for the upcoming referees, I suppose it would be worse to give some written comments without notes, okay, without marks. Sorry, without marks, but the written notes, it would be worse.
Yeah. Okay, so we agree. Everything you said there is what's on the screen. Good. Right, back to the coach specification then. Right, so we as coaches are people who are prepared to give time. We're prepared to give our time, a lot of the time, okay? Even if we're not actually at a venue, we're probably sitting at a computer screen observing or writing or whatever. But anyway, the coach is really the supporter of the referee. Okay, we have the referee's back, as it were, in a difficult situation. We're often not in a good position any longer to actually protect the referee at the end of the match. But I'm sure that some of you have had to do that. The referees come down from the chair, walk across to sign the score sheet, and there's a coach there who's aggressively shouting, and you have to get in the way of that. So we have their back, and we protect the referee, you know. So that's important from my point of view. But we're not judgmental. We don't have any point for or against. We're simply impartial. We are prepared to persevere to get the right answer from the referee, to actually, you know, push and push and push. How's the referee going to get to this point that we want? We can focus on the real issue often. I've just made one about the reaching beyond the net. The real issue is that most referees are not anticipating, and they're looking at the wrong place at the wrong time, or maybe they're actually thinking that it's always going to be the blocker that's reaching beyond the net, and in fact it's not. They give too much credit to the setter, and nothing is really too much bother for us as coaches. At least that's the plan. We go out of our way to help. Okay, and we also give the impression that yes, this referee, who is not a good referee yet, but can actually do really well if they think of these particular points and they can move on. Okay, so we can see the problem from other sides. We can ask the right questions. We can focus on the real problems. We can gently help the person by probing questioning, and we can come back to the referee. We're not a one-off. Okay, we're there a lot of the time. So the referee had a problem there. We tried to fix it. We discussed it and so on. We come back and we see if any of our plans have come back, and we are giving more feedback, and then we check again. So we are a constant in the process of developing the referee. You know, I'm constantly aware that in my country, when you go to the doctor, fine, you get a diagnosis, okay, you get a treatment and so on. You go back again and it's a different doctor. You start again. You've got to tell them all the stories again. You know, you go back again, it's a different doctor, and so on. So we need to be the constant. We need to be the person that the referee can rely on. Maybe the referee can phone us up and say, look, you know, can you take me through this? I'm still having problems with this. Can we talk about it? I mean, I had an email from somebody today, one of the beach referees, funnily enough, who actually wants to talk to me about a particular issue that he has. So, okay, we are there for the referees. So the coach is a positive influence through our words, through our attitudes, through our body language. We make a difference. We have your back. we enable things to happen. We're not motivators, however. The motivation is done by the referee himself or herself. The referee must want to do better. They must have an ambition to do better, you know, and not just an ambition to be put on the most important game, but they must have an ambition to improve. So let's see, we've talked through the realities. Okay, in the ideal situation, we could do certain things given time. Okay, Laszlo has already described how he's had this meeting every 2 days. Okay, and so that allows further discussion, bigger discussion, extended discussion, more relaxed discussion. Okay, anyway, let's have a look at this particular thing here and tell me from a coaching point of view what you might want to say about this second referee. Okay, right. So first of all, did she do anything right? Laszlo, over to you.
The internet connection is not so good to judge correctly.
That's not true.
My first impression was it was a reaching block in the simultaneously with the setting hit. It's my first impression with this wrong internet connection.
Okay. All right. You sure?
Oh, but it's my first impression.
All right. What was your second impression?
Let us see again.
Okay. All right.
Please.
Okay. Was the setter actually setting the ball?
Look, it was an absolutely setting action. It was
Yes.
The ball was in the black jersey team, so it seems the setting action was correct. Okay.
Yeah.
It was my impression that the blocker reached over the net, beyond the net, and hit the ball. Has hit the ball in the same moment when the setting hit was done. So in this case, even with the new rule modification, this is a fault.
Yes, agree. Now, tell me about the second referee's signaling.
Let us see again, because unfortunately, I concentrated to the ball.
Okay. She's on the correct side. She's on the blocking side, but then okay. So
in the moment of the hit, the white team was the defending the blocking team. So in this case, she was on the correct side, in my opinion.
yeah, but then she signaled the who's got service and then signaled the fault. And then
yes, it's true that the hand signal was not correct.
Is it her fault to call? Would you expect the second referee to call a blocking fault?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Really?
But in the opposite sequence, you're right.
Yeah. Okay. So we have things that we can say. So if we're looking at that referee after the match, we could in fact ask about the situation, and we could explore this, and we could say, well, what actually happened there, and why did you call that? Okay, let's have a look at this one here, and this is I'll come back to you in a second, Laszlo. You may have seen this one already. So there's a block, and then
yes.
okay, you want to tell us about that one first, then go back to the other one.
So in my opinion, it was an absolutely legal block, because the block definition doesn't say anything about the position of the hand in the moment of the block. So
Sure.
the ball can hit the backside of the hand. It's not a problem. So
Yeah, but as you know from what we saw, it was called as a double. Yeah.
and we are talking about the situation, not about the refereeing decision.
Yes, yes, sure. But this is again something that after the match you would obviously look at that and say, well, what happened there? And usually the top level referees will recognize, you know, if you actually show them something and they'll go, oh, yeah, you're right, I made a mistake. And so there's no denial from them. They're actually quite open about it, whereas the younger referees will resist a little bit. They will be in denial. But anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. You were going to make one other comment about the ladies' match, I think. Am I wrong? No. No.
I wanted to add to the first video that the situation was that the setter hit the ball and simultaneous block contact. Okay, it's a fault.
Yeah.
But I would ask during the analysis, I would ask the referees, what about with the new rule modification if it was not a setting action, but it was an attacking action,
Yes.
if it was a fault reaching block or not.
Yeah. Okay. No.
So to start from the real situation, to go to think further and to launch a brainstorming.
Yes.
I would add.
In other words, you would take the situation and you would expand the situation to take in other aspects.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I think that's crucial.
Because
As coaches, we shouldn't be limited to simply the incident itself. We can actually do what we do in when we do IRCCs, etc., or kind of examinations. We expand the questions. When we did the Zoom meetings with the prospective referees that were going to Mexico, we actually did a lot of casebook questions for them so that we could examine their abilities in rule knowledge and in English. And so we would take a particular question, but then we'd expand on that and expand on that again, just to try and explore their abilities and their knowledge, just so that it wasn't something they had simply learned automatically, that they actually understood, you know, a little bit more. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, moving on. This time I want you to look at the second referee, and this time it's body language I'm looking at and positioning. Okay, so.
this is the final of under 20.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, now show it again.
To be honest, I don't understand the reaction of the coach, the Serbian coach. What was wrong with the line judge?
Nothing. Well, okay, nothing as far as I could see. But I'm looking at the positivity, if I can put it that way, or there could be more positivity from the second referee.
He tried to check the path of the ball, if it was over the antenna or within the antenna. So the crossing pace or outside.
There could be more movement there. You know, the footwork was lacking. It was actually, I'll just lean to the side, and that's perhaps if the second referee had actually stood a little bit more to the side, then the coach may not have taken a bad reaction to the line judge, who was actually perfectly okay, nothing wrong with the line judge. Anyway, so we can ask the referees about body language, about unspoken gestures. You know, sometimes referees seem a bit apologetic. Sometimes the positioning is not good. Sometimes their anticipation is not good. Sometimes they interpret things wrongly, but we don't say that to them. We ask them. We ask them about these things. Okay, and we asked them, how would you do that better? Okay, so we've already discussed making the place that we're discussing private. Okay, we establish an issue, we probe the questioning, and okay, we maybe look at new tactics, how have they affected the referees and so on. We can ask them, what do they think? Okay, now that's our job. Ask them what they think. We ask important questions. Okay, that's our job. Okay, if we ask them the important questions and they come up with an answer, they own that answer, they own that solution. That means that they're more likely to operate with that particular technique than if you had told them directly. You know, if you say, do this, they can do that, but they don't really believe in it. If they say, okay, this would cover that particular aspect, then they own that and they are more likely to do that in the future. Okay, so good coaching is based on finding solutions. Okay, sometimes we have to reframe the question, but as coaches, we need to do our homework. Okay, have your notepad and pen, direct the conversation in a constructive direction. Okay, sometimes if it's a particular problem, we may ask them, okay, this particular issue keeps on happening. I just can't cope with this. I can't figure out where the backline hitter's coming in. I just can't do that. So you can maybe ask them, how many times do you actually have this issue? Is it on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think you are? 4 or 5, whatever. Okay, you ask them where they want to be in the next week or so, next 2 weeks, next 3 weeks, whatever. Okay, and then once you've scaled that, you begin to ask them more serious questions like, well, was there ever a time, what was it like when you got it right all those times? You say 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10, you know, you got it wrong, but that means that the rest of the time you got it right. So what was special about those times when you got it right? You know, and you ask them to actually go into their memory vault and think, well, what was the situation? What was I doing? You know, what were the conditions like at the time? Okay, and you think, well, what are the barriers to my learning this particular process? And you try and get them to figure out what the barriers are so we can find as a group, as a pair, a solution to that. Okay, what support do you need? Do you need to sit with us and go through a game and we sit and we actually work through, okay, backline player opposite the setter, it's going to be a backline hit this time because the player always does this. You know, do you have to do that? Would that be a good resource? Would that be a good solution to fixing your problem? You know, that's just one solution out of many, but that might be the thing you want to do. Okay, so who's going to help supply that? I can. I'm the coach. I can help you with that. But the talking is not alone. You need to have some actions. You need to have some agreement, some targets, you know, and you take those targets, not too many action points, just a few. And once you've gone through those few action points, you know, then you can come back and repeat and revisit and give feedback and so on. And you're always going to get into that feedback loop. Okay, so you do need to meet again. You do need to be the constant person that I talked about before. You do need to evaluate how things went. And the referee should evaluate as well how things went. So it's not just me evaluating, you listening. It's us, we evaluate, 2 of us together. Okay. So remember the coach's tools. We listen, we question, we reflect, we set goals, and we set our expectations realistically high. We're not going to go from 0.4 out of 10 to 10 out of 10 in one jump. Okay, 4 out of 10 to 6 out of 10 might be reasonable. Okay, so but focus on the solutions rather than the problem itself. Laszlo, come in.
Yes. We were talking about the referee coach features. And one very important thing was missing for me. The referee coach must know the rules, the refereeing on the same level as the referees who teach, who is coaching. Because even on a high level event, I heard referee coach express himself as he explained he explained wrong, using a wrong rule on a certain situation. What I wanted to tell, the referee coach should know the rules, should study the new rules in order to be liable to the referees. Do you understand? So the referee coach must study all new things what are issued.
In other words, do their homework and be
Absolutely.
more knowledgeable
Absolutely.
than the referee. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Okay, I'm looking at the time. I'm going to cycle through some more things. We observe. Okay, that's me just being fancy again. Okay. We have to help the referees. Okay, that's our task. Help the referee find the correct solution. But we have to look at their manner. Okay, and we have to remind them that they're there to direct a game. They're not the showman, but they need to direct the show. Okay, so they need to understand that sometimes players are in a little difficult situation, and therefore they must give a little bit of extra permission to play the ball. Okay, we'll look at their whistling and signals, look at decisions and ball touch, as I said. We need to be consistent. Okay, let's try and see if we're consistent here. Okay, so in terms of consistency, many of you may know that we have particular views on catching and throwing at the moment, and that we are being much more strict on the catch and the throw. Okay, opinion, Laszlo, about the consistency within that particular rally?
I suppose the set from the white jersey team, white setter, was correct, but this half a meter catch was absolutely faulty. So in my opinion, the first referee applied well the rule. It was a real catch.
Yeah,
it was not a tip; it was a catch and throw.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, and I think the first tip that we saw was legal because it looked like fingertips and accelerated the ball. But the second one, the one we saw at the very end, was very definitely a catch and throw. And I saw one today. Somebody shared a photograph. The player had the hand under the ball, and the other hand was there on the ball. So I don't know how that could end up as a legal hit, but anyway, coaches seem to be trying to teach many strange things at the moment, and we need to be aware of that, and we need to be consistent as coaches in knowing what to allow and what referees should allow, and giving them a gentle push in the direction that Willie Paredes and FIVB want it to go. Okay, so as I said, key point is consistency. Consistency of the referee, but also consistency of our advice. So we, as a group, need to be giving the same advice, need to be consistent in our advice to all the referees, so that one of us is not saying that's okay, another one is saying that's terrible, another one is saying, oh, fantastic, and so on. So we need to be consistent all the way through our coaching as referees. Okay, so there's our consistency of decision making. We need to be decisive, but we're not confrontational. We're not, dictators. Okay, we are maestros. We are conductors. That's our job. Okay, there are distinct things that we need to be strong and disciplined, but we need to be doing this in a manner which we said before generates trust. the opponents need to trust us to actually deliver discipline on this team over here, and this team over here need to believe that we're doing the same thing to the other team. So we've got to be doing that. But we're not challenging them. We're just simply saying, you know, this is the way it is, yellow card or whatever, and move on. So authority doesn't need to be shown all the time. You don't need to be a dictator. You don't need to be going around punishing people all the time, thinking that's the best way forward. Okay. I do remember also that it was Natty Tarom, I think, who actually reminded me a long time ago that yellow cards given out to players are often caused by the referee making a mistake. So if you do make a mistake, you know, encourage the referee not to stand on their dignity, but okay, own up. Okay, my fault, made a mistake. You know, sometimes helps. So that's, again, mutual respect. If the players realize you've made a mistake, that you're human, okay, they'll go along with that. And if you can generate decisions that are honest, decisions that apply natural justice, and I'm thinking back to the situation I've described before, where you had the timeout called at the same time as the service, and the player served into the empty court and won the point. You know, you get those kind of things. That doesn't generate a lot of respect. You know, sometimes it's, oh no, I wasn't signaling service. Okay, I was just making a big timeout gesture. So I've seen that happen, and we have videos of Mr. Mockery doing exactly that. So these are the kind of things that referees need to be able to think about. You know, there's other times when players tying a shoelace. You know that you should be whistling for service, but you take your glasses off and you polish your glasses just for a split second. You know, you do all those sort of things. You know, that's it. You know, and in a sense, going back to what we saw at the beginning, smooth refereeing is really about the art of refereeing, but applied not just to what's happening on the court, but to what's happening around the periphery of the court, the procedures and so on, applying a bit of common sense, really. So it's just a fancy word for saying art of refereeing, which is what we knew all along. Okay. Now we evaluate too, and I'm going to go through some of this because we've already covered some of these things here. But anyway, we evaluate for improvement, for individual consistency, for collective consistency, so that all the referees are doing the same thing, to a common standard week on week, and hopefully we're trying to reach for the same standard, same level as FIVB is wanting. Okay. Now we evaluate body language, facial expression, looking at people's eyes, because we know perfectly well that if the eyes are in control, then the referee's in control too. Here's an international referee. Okay, let's see if. Yeah, I'm going to pause there and move on. Okay, what I would ask is, referees need to have a purpose, and often, certainly, referees who don't get a lot of international experience sometimes lack that purpose. They sometimes lack that consistency of movement. They've not practiced the movement pattern so that it's always the same every single time, and so you get referees who are making you know, decisions from a big distance from the net. They're making decisions at timeouts, and they really don't have a movement pattern just to make sure the players come off the court, okay, to turn around, to go to the scorer. And so they need to have something that's actually happening that demonstrates that they know perfectly well where are the choke points, where are the major issues that you need to double check. I'm in control of the scorer. Let's go and check the scorer. Okay, what is the libero doing? Okay, and you make sure that all these things are happening. Okay, Laszlo, want to come in?
Uh, so, regarding this video, what we saw, it was an international candidate course organized by FIVB.
Yep.
Okay. And these referees met the first time on FIV standard. Willy was there. I'm sure that his instructions were something new for the candidates. So the candidates want to make a big effort to be good, to be accepted. So sometimes they were confused comparing to the automatic routines get on the national level and on the confederation continental level. So maybe therefore this was the reason that she was not absolutely smooth procedure and mentality. It's my impression.
No, I agree with it. I'm not making a big criticism of her, but I'm pointing out that there are differences, and if we want to get them to be smooth, then we need to show them what is meant to be smooth, and that's where we go back to the videos we saw at the beginning, where we had smooth refereeing from the top level referees, and referees need to be able to see the top level in order to match that, and most often referees referee in a vacuum. They don't actually get a chance to see the top level, except they see a little bit on TV. You see a little bit on YouTube, but it's not the same as when you actually see it for real. And so that's something, but you're right. They were beginning to get to grips. By the end of the 10 days or whatever it was, she was better than that. She was better.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. But at the beginning, the referees were a bit rough. And that's what I said to Franz Loderis when we had conversations before the event on the phone, was these people are not the finished article. They're not finished. They need to be made finished, they need to be improved. And that's the job of a referee coach. So that's our job, to actually do that. Okay. So anyway, we've said why we evaluate, okay, and what are we evaluating? Body language, facial expressions, where they're looking, the reactions, okay. We look at how they stand, how they gesture, where they're looking, etc. Are they able to use a glance here and a glance there, peripheral vision, so on, and that gives us a clue as observers how they're doing, okay. But they can do this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Hopefully if Roy or Alex can get this presentation to you, you can actually see more of the detail here. But this animation shows you some of the things. So they're relaxed, okay, are they? Well, are they tense? So they can actually, and you can work out a pattern of the referee's performance. As I said, we're running out of your time, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but you can go through this and you can create a profile of the referee, and you can do that. Remember what I said, the coach is the constant here. So you can do this in the next match and the next match. And so you build up a series of profiles, you can overlay them, and you can see, oh, well, this area is still something that needs attending to. Okay, let's take that out and let's have a one-to-one session. What is it? What's the problem here? You know, how could we fix this problem? Or how could you fix this problem as a referee? You know, so you take the bit that is not perfect and you try and make it a little bit better. Okay, so that's where the coach comes in. Okay, and again, you can look at whether the whistle is okay, whether the intervention is well timed, whether faults recognized, okay, where the timings of the various things like intervals and timeouts and so on done well. Was the referee energetic or lethargic or tired? Be careful with that one, because I don't want referees leaping about all over the place. Energetic, we saw at the beginning, that's as energetic as it needs to be, not jumping around and ducking and diving and so on. Okay, So those are the sort of things that we we can have. So I'm going to cycle through this towards the end now, and bear with me a second. So if you have the luxury of lots of time, you can do all of that. And then you're open to outside opinions, or they are open to outside opinions. They're not defensive. Some referees are defensive, okay? But anyway, you set the targets and you move on. Okay, so let me cycle through this again, just thinking of time. Beware with me. We've covered some of this already, so I'm just repeating some of it. Okay, so anyway, here's the process in summary. Okay, discussion, no distractions. One-on-one, if you can. Okay, to be effective, the coaching session needs to focus on the person being helped. Okay, that person needs to be open to outside opinions. Okay, the person must want to be helped. Okay, that means they're not defensive. They need to be open to self-criticism. And some of the things that I just cycled through, the referee can actually do that themselves. They can actually look at that and say, okay, I'm there, oh, I'm tense there, I'm body language, oh, I'm not so sure about that. Oh, my interventions were very poor there. So they can build up their own profile. Be interesting to see the two profiles, the coach's profile and the referee's profile, to see if they're the same. I'm sure Laszlo has found that many times, not just that the referees have criticized themselves, but in the days when we did actually score them out of 100, you know, we would score them at 94 and they would score themselves at 89. So they were much tougher on themselves than we were. But anyway, we explore the issues, okay? And the issue must be a clear one. We must both agree on what the issue was. And then once you've explored that and we've figured out what sort of things we could do to try and make it better, we then set our targets by planning ahead. And then we need to meet again after we've met those achievable targets. Okay, and then we get through the cycle again. So that's really a summary. Slightly over time, but anyway, it's your turn now. So if you could find some of those things useful, please go ahead and try and do those coaching techniques. You combine it with some form of self-evaluation by the referee. That's a really powerful tool, by the way. Referee self-evaluation is much more important than your evaluation. And good luck from my side. Laszlo, from your side?
Just another example how to work a bad refereeing coach, and based on this you can realize what we want to say. So I heard after a match referee coach evaluating a match, and this referee coach was a former member of the refereeing commission in CEV. He entered the room after the match with angry face, and he started immediately to list the mistakes of the referees. I saw also the match, and in my opinion, it was not bad refereeing. It was quite good. And he listed during 10 minutes the errors by the referees, what he thought. One referee wants to explain something, and he immediately reacted, it's my turn now, I am the referee coach, I have to criticize you, but please shut up. After 10 minutes, he stopped and he went out. And my colleagues asked me, hey, Mr. Herpai, it was an execution of the referees or it was an evaluation? I was really crazy, but it was not my job to evaluate the referees on this match. So please don't do this, don't use this style. In my opinion, the referee coach should at least a slight smile during the evaluation, because the referees are mainly after a strong match, and they are enough stressed having this match. And after the match, in this stressed situation, they get the referee coach's evaluation. It's also an additional stress. So the referee coach has also duty to release this stress and to make a real conversation about the match. So if you understand the difference, what Sandy and I tried to describe you and this behavior of my colleague, if you understand this, you can improve your work performance as referee coach, and you can help the Israeli referees to get better. So thank you.
Good. Thanks, Laszlo. Okay, Roy, Alex, we're done from our side. Anything from your side?
Well, first of all, let us thank you all for being with us and giving us your opinion. It was thrilling and understandable and very clear to analyze and for us to work with and to understand the changes. I'd like to offer anybody who has any questions or comments from the group to just unmute yourself and ask the questions, please, for sure. למישהו יש שאלה, you can.
Can I just add one thing before you do that, right? And I'm not saying it to you, I'm not saying it to Alex, I'm saying it to everybody. Probably what we said tonight is what you guys have been saying to each other for a long time, right? So it's just that we speak in a foreign language or a foreign accent in my case. So trust your referee coaches in your own country, and I'm sure that you will get the benefits from what we've been saying tonight. Okay, and I don't know if Laszlo agrees with me there, but certainly I know that a lot of work has been done or is being done. So I used to find that people would come from Netherlands to my country, and they'd say the same things that I did, and I'll say, but I said that. But yeah. He's from a different country. He's obviously knows more than you do. So anyway, sorry. Alex, sorry, I interrupted.
I just want a small comment that there is a little bit more work to do, just to look at the list of the things you need to do and make kind of a checklist. Even that checklist that you showed, I like that most. The checklist of what to look for and what to keep for the next session.
Sure. And
do it both on the side of what you saw as a referee coach and the self-evaluation of the referees. Now, this goes only for the, let's say, higher level referees.
Yeah.
We just need also to translate those into what we do with the young guys, those who just started. How to keep them going up and not pushing them down. Exactly like Laszlo was saying in that particular say, do it positive way. Think about improvement. Think about give advice, and not only you did that number of mistakes and so forth. But even it's not only the change of the thinking. It's not only the change of the teaching, which is easier for me because, like you, I am a teacher. And but it's also the way to prepare yourself. The problematic part here in our local situation is the continuation part, the follow-up. Follow-up, easy to do when you're in a tournament. It's much more difficult to do when you are seeing some young guy or some young girl who just finished the course and the first or the second year of refereeing, and then you probably will see her in another year.
Yeah.
So this goes back to us, how we organize the referee coaching for the younger, for the lower level things, and this is a lot of work. Okay, so we need to start not only to change the way of things, but to prepare the framework of doing it.
And what I think Laszlo said it before, was be careful what matches you nominate these young referees to, because I know that some referees at the beginning think, I could do this, I could referee the Olympic final. Okay, so you put them up there and they're a total disaster, and then they're killed. Right, they're killed by criticism and everything that happens and so on. So be careful always that you take them step by step by step. So they're very keen. They want to rush. They want to make that top level fast. But in reality, a good process is to take them at the pace that they can cope with. You know, and they make those little changes, those little adaptations, the little improvements step by step by step, and that they're not going too quick that they then crash and burn.
Yeah, very good. So guys, anybody wants to ask any question at this?
Gabi Lotan wanted to tell something.
It's 11 p.m. here, so.
Okay. All right, Gabi Lotan.
Gabi.
Micro,
Okay.
Gabi, yeah.
Microphone.
Yeah.
Somebody muted me. I have a short question about the debrief. Was it ever discussed if the debrief should be made in a group of all the referee team or in private? Because maybe where you are in a group, the referee will be much more closed within himself.
Mm-hmm. It certainly used to be, Gabi. I mean, I remember multiple world championships and multiple Olympic games that we gathered in one room and the referees were torn apart bit by bit by bit, match by match by match. And you're quite right. There was no real discussion about how the referee performed. It was Mr. So-and-so, this is what we observed. Okay, and that was what you got. And basically you were torn to shreds, you know, and the referees in those days were tough. they had to be. You know, I mean, I remember after Barcelona, Ricardo Rosamundo, who was at that point the coordinator between the refereeing commission and the rules of the game commission, he retired from FIVB at that point. And as he left, he gave me a big hug and he said, Sandy, be tough on the referees. They will respect you for it. You know, and to be honest, I totally ignored that. I just ignored that advice because that wasn't the way that I wanted to deal with people. I used to sit down with some 2, 3, 4 referees, whatever, in a small group, and we'd simply have a conversation about what happened. And that meant, you know, what Laszlo said before, you weren't lecturing, you weren't giving criticism, you were actually asking the referee's opinion. And many of the referees were really surprised. Why, you want to know what I think? Okay, oh, it's a big surprise, you know. And it was really nice that they actually thought that, you know, they were actually getting something different. And they relaxed. As soon as you asked them a question, you know, they began to relax. Now, in Israel, for example, you have an advantage. Everybody, I assume, speaks the same language. It's not always the same in an international competition, where you have to be a little bit careful with the words. Not everybody understands all the words.
All the referees speak English.
They do, well, yes. But remember, including me, FIVB language, official language, is bad English. So we go with that. But you know what I mean, that sometimes people, when they're expected to speak, sometimes they get a little bit nervous, they're not so sure, and it's only when they relax a little bit more and they don't worry that they're speaking perfect English. I don't care if they speak perfect English or not. If I can understand them, fantastic. That's really good. But you know, we've changed. Certainly now we no longer do the big exposition. We sometimes get the referees together in a group. For example, in VNL or World Championships, we'd have a morning meeting, but the morning meeting was usually to describe the transport arrangements, and just to make sure that, you know, who's first referee in the first match, okay, who's second referee, and so on. So you basically work out so that everybody knows where they're going, when they're going to be there, what the transport arrangements are they going to come back, are they going to stay in the venue, and so on. But sometimes you could explore that a little bit more. A video to show you, or in Laszlo's case, maybe several videos to show you. You know, can we talk about this particular thing that happened? You know, and I have been in those situations where the video was actually a really good thing to do. I remember it was Brazil against, I can't remember who it was, and the Brazilian team coach was going crazy, you know, that there was positional faults, you know, and so on. And the second referee said, but I was looking, and it wasn't until we actually got as a group, you know, that the rest of the referees said, yeah, you were looking, but you're looking in the wrong place. It was those people over there that were out of position. And so we were able to show that in the video, and okay, so sorry. But that's the kind of discussion that could be done in a friendly way. It wasn't done as you made a big mistake. It was, okay, here's a situation. Okay, this is what you was complaining about. You know, give us your take on it. What happened? And then the other referee said, actually, no, it was those. So in reality, I didn't actually have to do any coaching at that point. The other referees did it. And sometimes when you get to, if it is a big problem, you know, a problem that is happening across the group, you know, then you can actually get together and you can discuss it as a group, you know. So for example, in the World Under-23s, when we were testing out a new rule, the thing wasn't working out well at all. And so we actually sat there, and as a group, we actually tried to figure out how to solve the problem of this particular rule that was being applied, but it wasn't actually working terribly well. How could we as a group of referees solve that? And so that's actually good. So everybody chips in, everybody's got ideas, and they throw these ideas in, and they come out with a group solution. And a group solution, again, is a powerful thing. You know, if everybody buys into the group solution, then it makes the whole thing begin to go smoothly. Okay, Laszlo, anything to add to that?
Replying, Gabby, I had two points, and I will be very shortly. I don't want to lose the time. First, in my opinion, the referee coach should be a kind of psychologist. This is the one. Secondly, I prefer debriefing a group, but to discuss, to raise up only the topics which are valid, which are useful for everybody. And the topics which could be hurt to the referees to be evaluated should be discussed only with 4 eyes or only with the 2 referees. So you should realize, you should decide which topic to present in the group conversation and which should be only in private conversation. That's all.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Last question.
Ken Rado.
Yeah.
רדו, אתה צריך להדליק את המיקרופון.
Ask your question. Itai?
Okay, you hear me?
Yes, rather.
Okay, good evening. It was a very interesting dissertation. I think that we understand a lot of new things. In my opinion, it's a new philosophy, it's a new kind of thinking of also for a referee. We were referee a long period. We feel very good what happened on the court. Now, we do the same thing what to tell before a lot of years, because it was our understanding what happened with the referee during the game. And now, Mr. Laszlo tells exactly that I want to tell about the discussion. We can also the possibility to discuss in group the general problems but the specific problem of the referee, the two referees, we can discuss after in other room or another place, and we can improve the level of all the groups and improve the personal activity of the referees.
Okay.
Agree.
Yeah. So can I ask a quick question? You're talking about some group meetings and stuff like that, but like now we have quite a few new referees here in Israel, and they're starting the new way. And my question is, we have that pretty much that 10-15 minutes. We don't really have a long time after the game. And do you think we need to speak more about the implementation of the rules, or more, because we don't really have a lot of time? So is it more important to speak about the implementation of the rules, or pretty much the art of refereeing, the body language, how they kind of handle themselves, understand? Which do you think? I mean, we only have quite a few minutes. We have like 15 minutes with them. What do you think is more important in the beginning? The beginning. It's when they're starting off their career.
Itai, you've been a little bit not heard. I'll try to rephrase the question.
Mm-hmm. No, I think I understood what Itai was saying. Yeah.
Yeah, but let me just make sure that everybody understands what they say. We have a limited time for evaluation after the match. So what should we focus on? Implementation of the rules, or actually the body language, the way the referee presents himself on the stand?
Probably it's a difficult question to answer. Generally speaking, we focus on good things, and good things would perhaps involve the manner of the decision making, the signaling process. There's a lot of small details at the beginning that we know that the beginning referee doesn't actually see. They see the big things, but they don't see the small things. So as a beginner, if they can whistle correctly in time, if they can stick their arm out in the correct direction, and if they can apply a few of the appropriate signals at the appropriate time, probably they're doing pretty well. And if at the end of the day, this beginner referee gradually acquires some more knowledge of the rules and so on, then that's good. They won't have everything. They won't know all the knowledge of the rules, but as I said, if they can apply basics and then they can build and build and build, they begin to gain experience. If they're then given some good mentoring, or they're given some good coaching, then they can actually add these other bits and pieces in. But certainly, even the top level referees, if we evaluate them, largely we're talking about if you're a second referee, how was your transition, how was your substitutions, how was your attention to the net and center line, how were your signals, and so on. So these are the sort of things that we observe. And things like, your decisions of ball touch were pretty consistent. That's good, and consistency is a big one. So let's keep that going. So provided you're consistent, you've set your level. That's the advice most of us would give, is set your level and stick to it. Don't be too strict, don't be too low down. Don't try and referee at 100%. If you can operate at 80%, you're doing pretty well. You can keep going at 80%, but if you try and do 100%, you'll drop down. So it'll be pretty obvious that you're going through a bad patch. Those are the sort of things that I would suggest, but maybe Laszlo has another answer to that one.
Just analogy, a referee is like a building. How do you start to build a building? To make a strong base, you have to decide which belongs to the strong base, and after that to to make it complete. And at the end, the facade. So in my opinion, absolutely the basic things should be the topic of your briefing during this 10, 15 minutes after the match.
Okay,
Fully agree with Sandy.
we agree. Excellent. Good.
I have, with your permission, I have something to add, something small. On the side of a referee, of a young referee that have been, now that I still referee and I have been with different kind of delegates and now referee coaches. And what speaks to me, what tells me, what makes me feel good when I'm sitting with a referee coach is the feeling that he's one of us. He's a referee like me. He's one of the family. He's one of the people. I can have a good laugh with him. We can have a good casual talk about my performance and everything. And I feel confident and really comfortable with him. Versus when it was the referee delegate who was sitting there and there was a distance, you could not ask a question because you would fail yourself or you would cause something different. You'd be afraid because you don't want to raise issues that he might maybe missed, and I would lose some more points about that. But then as a referee coach, the best referee coaches are the ones like a big brother. He takes you in the hand, I mean, not literally, but takes you in the hand and supports you and gives you a help like a brother, like a friend, like I've been there, I'm with you, I'm going to whistle tomorrow, but today with my experience, this is my knowledge to you. And it's done in a very fun and easy, comfortable connection. So the body language of the coach and everything, it's as well. With smile and really casual. It's almost casual. Good.
Yes, I agree.
And just to reinforce.
Laszlo?
Connecting to Roy's topic, to be honest, as a referee delegate in the past and now as referee coach, I was always sitting at the table of the referees during the lunch, during the breakfast. And I was warned several times from Dr. Herpai when I was very young referee delegate. Hey, Laszlo, why you are not with the officials and why you are with the referees? Because my heart is still with the referees. I'm still a referee. I don't want to forget my being of referee. So what I wanted to underline, in a normal life, during a competition, during an event, you should be also, you should try also to close to the referees because they trust you better than you are far from them. You understand?
Yeah. No, I agree with what Laszlo said too. And like Laszlo, I've had many times, criticism from the rest of the control committee. Why are you sitting? Why are you going with the referees to dinner? Why are you not staying with us? You know, I said, but I'm their coach. I mean, you expect the playing teams to go with the coach to dinner. So this is my team. So I'm coaching them. So we talk about refereeing. You can come and join us. I don't mind, but this is my team. So I'm with them.
And the referees group is more interesting than the control committee. Sorry.
Oh, for sure it is, for sure. Because the referees know every good place to eat, drink, and whatever else they want to do.
And just to reinforce what you said, Laszlo, about when you criticize or when you say something good to the referees, there was a big general here in Israel that used to say that when you praise somebody, you give him good feedback, you do it publicly, that everybody hears that. But when you criticize somebody, you do it in private, that just he hears about it. And that's this is a really good way.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
זה כתוב במקורות. Okay, anybody else? Anybody to add? It was our pleasure to host you guys and to give you a host. And it was leaves a little bit taste or much taste for more.
Okay.
So we will go in and touch you again and maybe ask some questions about this presentation and other things. and maybe a little bit exchange our own experience in how we try to implement it here, and keep in touch. And thank you once again. And we will meet next time on other local things with some practical issues that we have and how we're going to do with the referee coaching here in Israel. Thank you again. Thank you, Laszlo. We'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night,
you
and thank
very
you for
much.
being with
Bye,
us.
good night.
See
Good
you.
night. And thank you very much for all.
Thank you. Bye.
See you in Budapest.
Hopefully, yes, why not?